speak to a larger demographic, which, again, from my background, hitting multi-quadrant demographics is super important because you want to have that mass appeal. But again, also, it also just speaks to an optimized metaverse, a world that
You guys still there?
is the one that has different options for gameplay, different ways to explore options for the gameplay.
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Ty, can you just repeat the last sentence?
Could you repeat the last sentence?
The last sentence?
Do you mind if I get a little geeky about this?
Go ahead.
Maybe? You can hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you. You just,
one of the things about the metaverse, yeah. One of the things about the metaverse is, there are lessons from the last 15 years of developing for the metaverse. And one of those lessons, there's a great book by a guy named Richard Burtle, and he wrote a book about designing virtual worlds. And one of the things in his book is he talked about the different types of personalities who come into the metaverse. So often you see, for example, game worlds that are purely social. They're purely focused on the social function. But the lessons I've learned in actually building metaverses is that there are different gamer types. Everything from the warrior type to the socializer to the hunter. So you think about how you play a game. You might like going in a game and like shooting stuff up. I used to like playing World of Warcraft, and I loved farming because it was just this kind of solo thing that you do. So for us, it's super important to recognize that not everybody has the same interests. Some people like to be a creator. Some people just like to hang out and chat and socialize or do play a game. So we're really building this to expand it out to a very large audience. And if we think that in order to expand Echocore to a large audience, we have to recognize those different gamer types.
Yeah, love it. It's the same for our guild too. We have different types of players, right? Ark, for example, is into FPS. I'm more into MOBA and strategy, so it's good to hit all areas.
Exactly.
So you mentioned before that the community will be able to write the narrative as well. How does that process look like?
Yeah, I'll let Ty answer that. How does the community write the narrative?
How does the community write the narrative?
Yeah, how are they involved in the narrative?
So there's a few ways to answer that, I guess. The best way to think of this is when it comes down to the avatar and the utility of it, obviously being this inherent part of this world that we're building, you're going to be a character. I mean, think of that avatar as a character in a film or a movie. But before you can really start to contribute to it, that world needs to be set up. There needs to be a backstory. There needs to be this canon that's developed and evolves to a point where there's something to build off of it. So what we're going to be doing at Echocore first, before we really get into that rollout of the avatars being able to be used as these characters that start to help to write the story and make those contributions, we're going to set up the mythology. It's almost like a creation myth. And again, without revealing too much of the story or going too far down that lore path, because that's a whole other tangent I can get off on. Essentially, what we want to do is we want to provide not just a blank canvas for people to be creating IP from. We want to have a few brushstrokes first, right? We want to get things going so that when it's time for the community to get involved and start creating with us, there's going to be something to build off of. So we're going to be essentially sort of like setting the tone and setting the stage with the content that we create. And we're going to be using several different, mainly ARG methods to create the story and bring it to life. For instance, all of our characters, all the avatar characters that we're creating, that we're going to be starting the story with, they have social media channels. They have a Twitch channel. They have emails. They have LinkedIn. So we treat them as if they're real people, just like you guys are. So these fictional characters that have these avatars and we bring into the story to life, they're going to be existing in the same world that our users do. So you'll be able to essentially LARP and participate in the story and create content on your social channels as that avatar. Obviously, it's not just a PFP. It's going to be a very high use function, high utility avatar that you'll be able to use on Twitch, on social media, to create content with, contributing fan art, contributing anything you really want to do. And like as Doug touched on before, there's going to be different tools and mechanisms that we're going to put in place that's going to make it very easy to enable our community to create content out of their avatar that can then be minted on chain and then added to the story canon. And if Doug wants to like elaborate on the technicality of that, that's what he's here for. But that's the broad scope of how we're going to be involving the community and building the story with us.
It's actually awesome to hear that you're planning to mint the story parts on the blockchain. I don't think I've ever heard that before in a project.
Yeah, it's that's when we talk about the Storyverse, that's sort of what I'm talking about, which is like a platform. So if you think of any of the games that you're playing right now, the Web3 games, like I think of something like Star Atlas, where you're keeping your ships fueled and you're earning by playing through a dashboard. But imagine that you could actually be minting just a little piece of story, like a little backstory for your character, and then it gets minted on chain. By minting it on chain, this means that residuals return to the NFT holders. That's the whole trick of this project. This whole project is based on the idea that we're building a new story world, like Witcher or Red Dead Redemption, or think of any game that has like all of these media components. There's the game, there's the YouTube stuff, there's the Twitch streams, there's all of this other media. Those are fans contributing to the value of that game, right? Like if I play Red Dead Redemption and I post a clip up on YouTube, I've just increased the value of that franchise because I've increased the amount of media about it, and therefore I've probably increased the users coming in. So everybody that contributes, whether you're just entering the world and spending time, or you're creating a little backstory for your character, that increases the value of the franchise. And by minting those moments on chain, you're staking your involvement and thus your right for a return from the franchise. So there's an economic model underpinning this that we think is super exciting.
Perfect. Moving on from the story a little bit, with the metaverse, obviously one of the big changes is ownership, right? How do you see, what's the importance of ownership in the metaverse? I think you've talked about this extensively already in the Atomic interview.
Was it important to allow gamers ownership of the moments and characters they create?
Just ownership in general. Great question.
Well, it's the right thing to do, first and foremost. It allows for a more interesting brand to evolve, more interesting experience, and that's really what we're after here. But B, it's just now we can, and that's what Web3 enables, and that's what the metaverse represents as, like, again, like I referenced earlier, this paradigm shift and how we shape culture and media. And it's one of the biggest and most important things it allows for is that community ownership. And to me, it just boils down to the simple common sense that was unfortunately not so simple before Web3 came along. Gamers and participants of an IP, the ones who are literally responsible for giving it its value, should obviously be able to participate somehow in that value, especially if they're directly contributing to it. So again, like with the ability to mint those characters in the story and everything that goes into building an IP and telling a story on chain, to me, it would just be insane not to leverage that to create a more equitable and a more immersive way of experiencing story and entertainment. So I can tie that together later, because there is a really good analogy that I like to use with what we're experiencing right now and how it is so significant and so impactful to the way we're going to be experiencing media, not only as an audience, but as owners of it also.
Yeah, I'm involved. I'm part of the team at the Open Meta DAO. Some people here may know about the Open Meta DAO and Ryan Gill's work on evangelizing for an open metaverse. And he has this really simple phrase, everything is going to change when gamers wake up and realize they would rather own than rent. So if you think about it, on Fortnite, you can get a skin. You can even buy a skin with V-Bucks, but you're really just renting it. That skin just sits on a server somewhere, and that skin can be taken away. You don't actually own it. It's not yours. You just have a temporary license for it. So I think that's the big difference with Web3, and we're certainly committed to that and to an open metaverse.
Yeah, fully agree. And you said gamers have to wake up, right? And we see that in the guild as well. There's lots of gamers that currently don't have the best thoughts about NFTs. What are your plans to help that movement?
Oh, why? Yeah, help the movement to help gamers understand NFTs is such a great question. So I do want to touch on one of our really key partners, and you'll see his name on as one of our advisors, and his name is Giovanni, and he has a company called Frag Color, and we're partnering with them for their engineering expertise. They're providing development expertise in blockchain. He's worked for pretty much every game company in the industry, like all of them. He's like a genius coder, and he's actually building a distributed game engine, which is a kind of a subtopic. He and I talk a lot about what is it going to take to bring kind of gamers into these worlds. And one of the reasons I was attracted to Echocore was the power of story, because I think what's going to happen is that after us, like, we're the pathfinders in this room. You guys in this room are creating the future already. And what's going to happen later when that next million comes in and the next billion, a lot of these people won't even realize that they're engaging with an NFT based experience. They won't even know. They're just going to get engaged with the story. They're going to find it fun. They're going to pop into a virtual environment. Suddenly they're in the metaverse and they buy a pair of shoes. They don't even know that those shoes are necessarily NFT based. Why did they show up there? Because it was community driven. I think we're going to see the next major franchises come out of the Web3 world. We're already seeing hints of that with things like Azuki and even Bored Apes. I think we're going to have, so I think the first million, yeah, you kind of got to convince them, you got to take the pill. The next billion, a lot of them aren't even going to realize that it's an NFT that they're buying. They're just going to suddenly realize that they own these assets and that they can even make money off of them.
Yeah, especially if you own those assets and you just create them within the game by active playing.
Yeah.
So once that shift sort of happens and you have gamers coming in, like, and they know about blockchain gaming, what sets Echocore apart? What's different here?
I'll ask Ty to explain what sets Echocore apart.
From blockchain games? From other
No,
games?
just
from other
as an experience. Yeah, from other blockchain games. Yep.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that sets us apart. I mean, I'll keep it simple. For one, our story. It's not a space opera. We want to be creative and not derivative with the approach, and again, I don't want to use this opportunity to really delve too far down the path of our lore and in the world that we're creating. But I do believe it's quite unique. I mean, it'll be familiar to people, everyone that's, fans of sci-fi, like, using like the Matrix as an example, for instance, really exploring some interesting themes with consciousness and reality and what's real and what isn't. Again, when we approach this, and again, probably one of the biggest things that sets us apart is our DNA and where we came from. This was never meant to be a Web3 native thing. It just happened to evolve that way because once it found that community and that community understood what I was trying to accomplish with Echocore, everyone just responded really, really strongly to it. And then now here we are. But I mean, to give you guys a little bit of backstory of how it developed, like I said, my background is in traditional media. I knew nothing about the metaverse or Web3 or crypto or blockchain at all until, as the NFT revolution was happening in early 2021. And even then, like this, what I was trying to do originally with this project was to create an animated esports team. I wanted to create the gorillas of esports, for instance, where I built this story world around a cast of avatar gamers. So people that go on Twitch and go on social media. I'll kind of like what we've seen with what Brud's done with Lil Michaela, or Code Miko's done on Twitch, or Xanadu's done on YouTube. Create virtual characters, create a story around them, and then put them out on the internet using social media and using these streaming channels for people to experience and be part of the story. Well, once I started to talk to people in the Web3 and Metaverse community about this, they're like, hold on, this really, really, really makes sense for this world and for this to be kind of something that is born out of the metaverse. So as it evolved and as I got more down that path, it made more and more sense to make this an NFT driven project, because it really is the NFTs, the characters as NFTs that are going to be the drivers behind building this world out. So yeah, I mean, I hope that answers the question, but that's really, I think the biggest thing that sets us apart is I'm not a crypto dude at all. And fortunately, I've dug in some really smart advisors and people, you know, in my corner that are very close to this project that have been helping with, you know, building out the, you know, Doug as like the metaverse architect and helping with the NFT and blockchain mechanics of this whole thing. Because for me, my background and what I understand is story, and leading with story first, and essentially treating this project as if I was like writing a movie or writing a TV series. That's the approach that we take. And that's why story is so heavily ingrained in the foundations of this project, and why I believe our narrative is actually very, very strong. And, you know, it's something that I think people also, they'll find it very easy to immerse themselves into it, because again, without getting too far into the world that we intend to build, we're setting ourselves up to really create this really rich creative incubator that'll make it very easy for people to, you know, be creative and participate and partake in this world that we're building. Because, you know, again, it's going to be rich with a lot of opportunities for catalysts for that.
Great, cool. So let's move on to the NFTs. As everyone knows, on February 22nd, we're going to have the INO of Echocore. Can you talk us through both the rarity levels and the utilities of the NFTs?
Sure. So there's 4 rarity levels, and you can check them out on our website, echocore.io. So it's 128, 256, 512, and 1024, which kind of has a you know, it's kind of based on computer chips and computer speeds and so on. So the main first utility of these is these are Genesis NFTs. These are the keys that unlock all of the gameplay, all of the story that Ty is talking about. So that's the first thing. So what does that mean? Well, it means depending on your rarity level, you're going to get access to the hero drop. So that's our first significant, like there's going to be drops before that, but that's our first like really big public release of what the world itself is going to look like. You're also going to get access to the Shadow Core drop, which comes later. And the way that happens is that depending on your rarity level, you're either getting a free, a whitelist, or a whitelist opportunity for both drops. And then you're also collecting points. And if you have 1 point, for example, for a hero, you get a free hero avatar. So one of the neat things about that is that we will be offering opportunities in the drops that happen before the avatars to earn additional points. So that unlocks the avatars. The avatars are high utility. You're going to be engaged in the storytelling, you're going to be engaged in the lore. And then the final thing I kind of want to make a note of is that you are becoming a franchise owner. So you are actually getting a piece of ownership in the overall franchise, and that's on chain. So that means when we do our first drop, which is a lore drop, and it's really fun actually, and it's going to have some neat gameplay, you're, as an Echocore NFT holder, you're actually going to have rights to the residuals from that drop. So there's an earning power in these Echocore NFTs, which I think also makes this project quite unique.
Cool. I have one more question here from us, and then we can move over to the community. If anyone wants to ask any questions, please go ahead. If you enter the room here, you can see this painting that you can click to get to the Twitter post to ask questions. But I wanted to know, what are your goals for the future in Echocore, and can you walk us through both short-term and long-term? I think the long-term vision is kind of clear, but what's the short-term goals?
Short-term goals.
I mean, short-term goals, and I'll speak to some of the tangibles. First and foremost, we just want to, you know, create an engaging experience, you know, and actually do something with these things. Like for me, again, as someone that comes a little bit from outside of the crypto world, my first impression was it was like, okay, like this is interesting, but like aside from like the very rare cases where your profile picture NFT, thanks to the community that it's attached to, you know, it could obviously add value that way. My whole thing is, what is the actual utility? What are the tangible things that these NFTs can do? And first and foremost, to me, again, it's about building a community. The short-term goal is like, we want people to be aware of this project. We want to get people excited about it, because at the end of the day, if we're telling a story, and just, you know, a synonym for that is, if we're going to be building a movie franchise, you need an audience, you need people in the theater, you need people to experience it, and you need fans that, you know, want to either watch it, participate in it, and be a part of it. So I think the community growth and building that out and scaling it, obviously that's a massive priority, and that's a huge short-term goal for us, because again, without that, there is no Echocore. I mean, there's no franchises in general without a following. So we really want to do that. And again, to do that, obviously it's really important for us to create these NFTs with this utility that's, you know, that's fun, that has the gameplay that Doug's mentioned, that also is just, you know, inherently cool, you know, aesthetically pleasing, cool to look at, you know, fun to play around with. And again, we want to have like these, I guess, unique experiences as well that are tied into our project. That's not like everything else that people have seen. And I know that can probably kind of sound like a bit of like a pitch, but it's also, we mean it. You know, we really do want to take an interesting, unique approach to this, you know, both in terms of how we tell a story and how people experience it. So, you know, I think offering that experience and, you know, giving people something that they're not used to seeing, you know, that's also something that we take really seriously and want that to be part of our short-term goals as well.
You mentioned previously that you have partners that you rely on and work on together to make this happen. Do you have any exciting collaborations planned for the future with any public figures or key opinion leaders? Anyone you can call out in particular?
Oh, I think, yeah, you're breaking up a little bit. Well, the one that we didn't mean to say anything about it as a collaboration. But we are partnered with Pixelinks. I think a lot of your community probably knows Pixelinks. It's a collaboration between deadmau5, Richie Houghton, and Inder, who is an advisor to our project. So without getting too far into what we're doing with them, we can announce to this audience here that Pixelinks is actually an official partner. They're not just advisors. We have a roadmap with them. The plan in part for that roadmap is that your avatars will be interoperable with the Pixelinks universe. And I could just say that, I'll just say that deadmau5 and Richie Houghton are both very, very cool people. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I can actually suggest to everyone to visit the deadmau5 YouTube channel, and there's some videos there that Pixelinks worked on, and it's fantastic work. Really, you can really see the metaverse coming together, and metaverse concepts and all of that is happening already.
deadmau5 is, I actually think he's one of the smartest people working in crypto right now, along with Inder. Like, we'll do a Twitter space. Actually, we should probably just do an exclusive for NFT holders where you guys can meet Inder and learn about what they're doing over at Pixelinks, because they're building a musical metaverse, and I actually think he's building the next Spotify. Like, I think he's building, you know, the next generation of music platform. Our other advisor, Clayton, actually works at Audia, so he might disagree, but there you go. But I think, you know, if you really dig into what deadmau5 is doing, he's doing really interesting NFT drops. He's building interesting lore around his character. He's got some other stuff on his roadmap that I can't share because we're part of that collaboration. But we're super excited that Pixelinks is a partner. We will have a couple of other partnership announcements in the next couple of weeks. Super exciting to be able to share that with you guys first.
I'm certainly excited. I'm a huge fan of Pixelinks myself. So we have another question here. With the metaverse, of course, everything is digital, but we have a question here. Are you planning to have anything in terms of real life, any benefit in real life with those NFTs?
Yeah, I mean, so going off of what Doug just mentioned, I mean, obviously there, you know, without saying too much, there could be some IRL stuff happening, you know, with our partners. both the ones that we've announced and ones that are to be announced. To me, in real life stuff, again, going back to my obsession with NFT utility and getting tangible results out of them, to me, real life experiences and real life, just real life, having things to do with them, interacting with people, not just on the internet, that's a massive part of it. And a good model that I like to follow is I'm a part of this DAO called Pool Suite. If anyone's familiar with Pool Suite, formerly known as Poolside FM, it's a really cool brand that's been built by this gentleman named Marty Bell. And he had, for instance, an event at Art Basel in Miami at the Standard. I think what they're doing with their Pool Suite Access Pass NFTs, because again, the Echocore NFT, the utility as an Access Pass, does operate similarly to these other Access Passes that obviously give you access to a community and all the benefits, the digital benefits of that community, but also the in real life ones in terms of events, in terms of things that we have lined up with our partners. So again, without getting into too much detail, there's definitely going to be some stuff like events and other meetups and things that are planned with our partners that are definitely something to look forward to.
I also just want to meet some of the people in our community. Honestly, like since we launched our Discord, part of our intention was to keep it pretty low key to start, because it's super important for us to understand how we're going to co-create with our community. And it's a tough thing to pull off a truly collaborative NFT project where the community really feels involved. So it was really important for us not to, there's all kinds of cheap, easy ways to get 20,000 people into the Discord. We decided very purposefully not to do that. As a result, we have this group of people that's coming up with ideas. They're joining us for Twitter Spaces where we just chat for like 2 hours at a time about the meaning of story and what games do we like. And so that's really important to us. It's been really important to kind of keep this small for this first period. And I think for the folks at Equinox who buy an NFT, look, we realize that you might want to be doing this for the value that accrues from the NFT, but we do hope that some of you also join us as part of that building experience. And if I see that as a real life benefit, that we're building a little community, and I'd love that to spill over into meeting some of these people because they're just so friggin' amazing.
What about having like a small, you can see here on the right, a small Echocore device in real life?
Yes, we've argued about this internally. I'll take you behind the curtain about whether we should have a real Echocore device.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So when we launched the site, if you guys have seen it, if you go to echocore.io and you click on lore, we actually launched the lore site first without saying anything to anybody that it was an NFT. And a lot of people thought it was real and got super, it was really, really interesting, the response. But we had thought actually about creating a real physical device and are still, I'll just be honest, we're still considering it. Obviously, you won't be able to use it to synchronize your brain to a quantum computer, but we were thinking of some cool things that we could do with Bluetooth and turning it into a little access pass. And so I don't know. We've been debating it.
It's my obsession. I must make it happen.
So I really wants it. I'm like,
again,
it must happen.
I love just finding unique, interesting, cool, creative ways to make your NFT more than just that NFT that everyone's used to. And that's like a promise to everyone that being this hyper creative guy that I am, I always like to think outside the box, literally, and just be innovative and weird. And people, we can maybe do another Twitter Spaces, and I'll be able to talk about some of the stuff I did as an agent in terms of pushing the envelope and finding weird places to find story and find IP. So yeah, definitely when it comes to our plans for what we want to do with this, short-term, long-term, NFT utility, all that stuff.
Okay, so everybody jump up and down if you actually want a physical Echocore. Oh, look at them all jumping up and oh man, I'm gonna lose.
Damn it!
All right. You know what? We do have a quote. I do have a quote for one, so maybe we're gonna have to do it. I don't know. I've been fighting it a little bit.
Doesn't look like you have a choice anymore, Doug.
I know. Oh my God. What did I do?
No, it's out there.
Myself into a corner, didn't I?
Okay, let's jump to the next question. We know your vision is really big, and this question is really just are we really sure that you can make this happen, and isn't it going to take a long time?
Yeah, that's a really good question, whether it will take a long time. Yeah, and it is a big vision. I'll give you one answer. There's two answers to this. One is it will take time, and it probably should, so that we can get it right. I look at what Pixelinks is doing with their musical metaverse, and it's a full-on 18-month roadmap. But that roadmap doesn't end, because once you're in the metaverse, we now have a space to explore all kinds of new things. But a few things about that roadmap. One is that I think we're going to have a lot of fun along the way. There will be gameplay. There will be things you can do. There will be things you can collect. There will be events that happen even before we get into the Echocore metaverse itself. So that's one. The second, though, is, I mean, just to give you guys some context of the type of stuff that I've done, I was asked by, I won't say, I'm not legally allowed to say who it is, but it's a Korean-based cell phone company. Let's put it that way. And I was asked to put basically a virtual world together for them. This was during the pandemic, and we had to do it in 6 weeks. We built it a full stage. We built it a full 3D model of a car, because they were showing off a new sound system. We brought in Houdini artists to create programmatic Houdini art that kind of floated on this screen behind the stage. Did the whole thing in 6 weeks, and it was a huge success. So on the one hand, yes, it takes time, but the technical part isn't actually, to me, the big challenge of building this stuff out. We could, in theory, have a metaverse space for Echocore up in a week if we wanted to. Like that's not the hard part. The hard part is making sure that it is an engaging space, like making sure that the onboarding is smooth for everybody, making sure that some of the the crossover connections to your wallet work, which, by the way, if you guys know about Open Meta and the fact that I'm working with them, then you know about some of the tool sets that they have. So I don't think that the hard part isn't the technical part. I've built stuff quickly at a level. It's a global level. I mean, it's at a global level. That's never the hard part. The hard part is community, storytelling, engagement, onboarding. It's all of the kind of social stuff around it that's the hard part.
So what is your plan to tackle this challenge, community onboarding?
Well, I mean, that's partly why we're releasing the NFTs in the stages that we are. So, for example, the Echocore NFT, there's only going to be about 1,900 of them. And that allows us to build out community in kind of like, think of it like in ever increasing circles. So the first NFT holders, and if you look at the way that the rarity characteristics work, and you really kind of wrap your brain around it, you'll see that most of the hero avatars are assigned to Echocore NFT holders. And there's a few available for the public. So that allows us to grow our audience just a little bit more. But when you get to Shadowcore, suddenly we're actually going to be expanding our audience quite a bit. So our plan here is that at each wave, we grow our audience a little bit more and involve the community at each stage in helping to build the lore and create the experience. So that's why I built the roadmap the way that we did, so that it's this kind of it has momentum, but it's a momentum that everybody can wrap their heads around.
Very cool. It actually leads into my last question, which is the Storyverse going to be bigger than Disney?
Oh, I'm gonna have Ty answer whether the Storyverse will be bigger than Disney.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay, that's all. That's it. He said yes.
Yes.
That's it.
No need to elaborate.
No need to elaborate.
All right. Do you guys want to leave us with something?
No, you know what? I just want to leave, and I'll have Ty have the last word. I want to leave a real, true, heartfelt invitation to you guys. I mean, we really know the Equinox family. I absolutely love this community. So this is a heartfelt invitation to join us. Not for like there's all the utility questions and there's all the value questions, but we want your energy and we want your spirit. We just love the Equinox family, so we invite you to join us. And Ty, did you have any last words?
Well, first of all, I second that. Sorry, I couldn't really hear the responses from people, so I'm just kind of going off of, you know, what I would like to convey to people. And, you know, again, yeah, knowing what I know about Equinox and what Doug just said, you guys are awesome. You know, really appreciate you. We value your, you know, your contributions. But also, you know, just one thing, I guess I'd like to share like the way I look at this project and the significance of it. And really what we're looking at here right now is what was happening 100 years ago with the invention of motion pictures and movie theaters. That was a massive, major paradigm shift in the way humans told stories, created culture, created media, and everyone rallied around that. And then this traditional studio system was built around it. And that's been the studio system that we've had literally for the past 100 years. Now, just like that technology of motion pictures enabled that new form, this new medium of storytelling, we're literally experiencing the same exact thing right now with the Metaverse, with Web3. So it's just the same situation set 100 years later. And I believe Echocore is, you know, to the Disney question, we see ourselves as some of the pioneers, some of the first storytellers in this new space, using this new medium to tell these stories and bring in an audience of people just like Walt Disney did.
Beautiful.
The pantheon of Echocore. That's the way I'm thinking about this project. I think, but the opportunity is that big and the potential is that big, so it deserves to be seen that way. And thank you.
Indeed, you're going to be bigger than Disney.
Yeah. Except
right,
my one problem is, how do you guys jump? Like, that's the only thing. So I'm supposed to be a big tech expert, but how the heck do you guys jump?
Yeah.
Let's give it up for Doug and Ty from Echocore one more time and jump.
I'm the worst tech person of all time.
Which button do you use to jump?
Space.
Space. Oh, there we go.
Oh my God, it was right in front of us.
There you go. There you go. All right, guys. So on behalf of the whole Equinox community, thank you so much for your time, your insight, your perspective.
Thank you.
I really hope you enjoyed the AMA, everyone. And we're excited for the INO on February 22nd on Equinox.fund. Thank you, everyone.
Let's get more of that.
Let's play some music, man.
I love this shit.
Wow, wow, wow.
I love it. I need to shower.
There's so much more coming to Portals. It's really exciting.